FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and today is August 23rd, 2017. Well, as you've seen, there's been a little bit of a divergence between Trump the candidate and Trump the president. Well, we'll be talking about that shortly. First, questions, comments, feedback. Email me, kl@kerrylutz.com. We answer all. A little bit behind right now, but I am catching up. So Bill Tatro is with us now. Bill Tatro. Former radio guy, author, economist, and philosopher. Bill, welcome back.
Well, that's a new one you've thrown out there for me. Thank you. It's a philosopher. I like that, though. I like that. You know, there was a radio station actually in Phoenix, and I'm on every once in a while. And as you know, I do these all over the country. And I was on yesterday, and they said a guy who's been involved in the financial world with economics for almost 30 years. And, a month ago, or a couple of weeks ago, it was a guy who's been almost 40 years. And I said, you know, I got to be on your guys' radio station a little bit more because you guys are like Ponce de Leon. You're getting me younger and younger and younger. You know, you guys are the fountain of youth. Pretty soon you'll have me, the kid who just got out of college and is making his debut in our program.
Yeah, well, you never know. But I look at it, you're definitely a philosopher, even if that's not on your CV. And whether it's political, economics, or just societal, in general, you've got your own philosophy. So I throw that in there deliberately so. But
thank you.
Hey, so we got Trump the president now. Like you said, pre-call, there's a divergence between Trump the president and Trump the candidate.
Yeah, it's very interesting because, you know, my wife said to me, well, didn't you expect that? She said, you know, you've been around the political world for a very, very long time. And there were, in my younger days, there was a whole lot of national politics that I was involved with. And sometime I'll tell you about that. But, you know, you see people who will run for particular political office, whether it's president, whether it's local dog catcher. And they will say, they'll do their media study, they'll do their demographic study, and they'll find out, let's see, 60% of the people like this and 40% of the people like this. All right, so what are we going to talk about that's going to appeal to this 60%? And I was struck by some of the things in the last 2 nights of President Trump's speeches. Very good speech on Monday night, very well delivered. Totally disagree with most of it, but found it fascinating, and it struck that chord. And I'll tell you why in a second. But then last night's speech was the one that let's just say, turned CNN and some of the other liberal stations on their head. I think they had meltdowns after the speech last night. And I wasn't so looking at trying to catch the president and, you know, in a lie or anything like that. But I was interested in looking at certain things that he said, like as an example. He said, our stock market is at the highest that it's ever been. And that's a terrific thing. And then he said, our unemployment is at the lowest it's been ever. And look at all the jobs. Then I thought back to Trump, the candidate, when he talked about the record high in the stock market at that point in time, and he looked down and he said, "Does anybody believe this? Does anybody really believe the unemployment numbers? Does anybody ever believe that this stock market is not artificially being held up?"
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, as the president, he now takes that as his mantra and saying that's kind of, you know, we got more jobs than ever. And I don't disagree. We've got more bartenders, waiters, and waitresses. And I think that's terrific because the service is sometimes questionable, but we got a lot of people working. So
at least they're trying,
that's
right?
The thing. But you know, the significant thing was the night before, and this is what I'm writing about in BillTatro.com, and it's all about money in my blogs and talking about is the fact of with Steve Bannon there, and the fact of disengaging from the Middle East. And he talked about, and I kind of last night went back and Googled a lot of his speeches from his candidacy, and talking about the waste in the Middle East, the waste in engaging not only in money and effort, but in human life, ours and theirs. And saying, we got to get out, But all of a sudden, Monday, it's like all of a sudden he did the reversal. No, he did say, I've changed my mind. And yes, people can get, and he said, they told me that once I got into the chair of president, I would see things a little differently. Problem is, I'm looking at a war that's, I don't know, was it 14 years or 16 years?
16.
16 years. I would suggest to all of our listeners out there, all of your listeners out there, to grab a novel from years ago, James Michener's Caravans, I think it's plural, and read that book, because it's probably one of the best, even though it's a novel, one of the best in-depth writings about what Afghanistan is all about. And there's never going to be a win in Afghanistan. And I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. The Russians tried it. We've been trying it for 16 years. It's not going to. And you can have great resolve and all the rest of that stuff. It's just not going to happen. But now, all of a sudden, we've entered into the fray, and the comment is, well, we're not fighting the people there. We're not going to do a country rebuild. We're just going to go fight terror. We're just going to go in and do terror. And of course, as you know, and as our listeners know, the rules of war have changed. It used to be if you're declaring war, you had to go to Congress to ask for that to happen. Now, if it's war on terror, you can do anything you want. And that, to me, is a very slippery slope. Now, the last thing I wanted to say is that in listening last night, what I got probably as a historian most disturbed about was his pushing to change the rules in the Senate. The rules in the Senate are there, whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, and there are times that I want to have a filibuster. I want the rules of the Senate. The Founding Fathers put those rules in for a reason. They put the Second Amendment in for a reason. They put the rules in the Senate for a reason. And that's where, you see a lot of, that's just some of the things that have differentiated Trump the candidate from Trump the president.
Yeah, well, there's potential and there's reality, that old joke. And until you get into the Oval Office and you find out all the secrets, what they've been hiding, you don't really know anything. But to hang your hat on a rising stock market, is he then going to say I'm failing because the stock market is crashing when it crashes? I mean, really,
very good point.
It's not a sound move, because gains in the stock market are very ephemeral and they can be very fleeting. So what's he going to do when it goes down? We need to get out of there. Look, we've spent $1 trillion. We've tried to train these people, train them to fight. All they do is fight. To make them into a disciplined modern army fighting force ain't going to happen. I mean, we should just throw in the cards here, throw in our chips, and fold this hand.
Well, but Kerry, it's really, and I've said this all along, and I'm not the first to say it. And I put this as a video in my blog yesterday. The fact that General Eisenhower, President Eisenhower, when he was leaving office, and of course it wasn't a well listened to speech because the excitement of John F. Kennedy coming into office kind of overshadowed it, but he gave us a forewarning. He talked about, and he coined military-industrial complex. And when you talk about, everybody thinks about military-industrial complex as just the hardware, the guns, the bullets, etc. It's not. I mean, you put 20,000 more guys into Afghanistan, you've got to feed them.
Yeah.
You've got to clothe them. You've got to, provide water. All this stuff, and it is a big business. It is an incredibly big business, and that's what is dominating today.
Hey, you talk about the employment numbers, Bill. Well, one thing is for sure, the help wanted advertising is bigger than it's ever been. More companies out there looking for people to fill their jobs. And being in business, the hardest thing to do is to hire people. So, Bill, you've seen there is a record number of jobs going unfilled. And if you're hiring, you got to go post your job where you're going to find the best candidates. And this is why you go to ZipRecruiter.com. You can post your job to 100 plus job sites with just a click. And then what happens is that their powerful technology efficiently matches the right people to your job better than anyone else can do. And that's why ZipRecruiter, Bill, is different. Unlike other job sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. And in fact, Bill, over 80% of the jobs posted on ZipRecruiter get a qualified candidate in 24 hours or less. I mean, that is amazing. When I would go hire, it would take me a week or two to find the right person. If then, sometimes I wound up having to rerun those classified ads, which were so costly. And with ZipRecruiter, though, there's no juggling emails or calls to your office. All you do is screen, rate, and manage candidates all in one place with ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use dashboard. So find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. And right now, you listening can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/Lutz. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Lutz and go try it out for nothing. You got nothing to lose except your job vacancy. ZipRecruiter.com/Lutz. Yeah, well, how many troops did he say he's adding? 4,000 or something? Or think it's actually gonna help? Although the generals have not been allowed to do what they've wanted to do.
I ask one simple question. I totally agree with you on that particular point. I mean, it goes back to, Korea with MacArthur and Truman. And you go back into other times, military times, and not just the United States, but all over the world. When the king is controlling the general or the parliament is controlling the army, etc. My question, and I asked this once, believe this or not, because there was a period of time for a few years I lived in the same building that John McCain lived in, and I got to know John a little bit, and we kind of had some significant differences of opinion, especially when it came to the Middle East then.
I would hope.
I asked him once, I said, could you define what the word win means? Just explain to me. I know in football, if I score more points than the other guy, or if in golf I have the lowest score, I win. Could you define what it means to win in Afghanistan? And I got about, 15 minutes of, well, we've got to give them their freedom. And I said, do we win if we have a 7-Eleven on every corner? And we got McDonald's right around the corner? Is that a win? Is that what it means? He could never really explain what the word win means. Mm-hmm. And that's what I would ask President Trump. What do you mean by the word win?
Yeah, that's
Give me that definition so that we can accomplish it,
Yeah, nobody's got it. Nobody wants to think about it. You know what you're dealing with. You're dealing with politicians who are more concerned about covering their own behinds than actually accomplishing anything. They're more concerned about giving the appearance than they are of actually getting the job done.
Oh, that's very well said. That's very well said. Unfortunately, it pains me because it's so truthful. It's so truthful.
Yeah, well, what's his name? Benjamin Franklin. He wrote about trying to correct all of his flaws, all of his personality defects. And he said the hardest one to accomplish was to be humble. And what he came up with was that he couldn't be humble, but at least he could act like he was humble. And therefore people wouldn't know the difference, right? It's all about appearances.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it is, but we live in a very interesting time because, as much as the people, and people have kind of bashed me a little bit. They say, well, you've jumped off the Trump bandwagon. I said, no, not at all. I recognize our choices. Remember what our choices were back in November. Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. There was no way, having been a New Yorker for many years and there when Hillary Clinton was senator, and watching her performance as First Lady and as Secretary of State and all the rest of that stuff, there's no way that I wanted her in that office. So I voted for Mr. Trump. But again, as a citizen, which I think everybody should do and should be, is that you hold your elected officials accountable. And you don't all of a sudden say, yep, okay, here's a clear slate, do whatever you want to do. And you want them to accomplish things. We all recognize what has to be done. And you don't have to tell people that the healthcare system has to be fixed, or the roads have to be fixed, or, that the tax programs have to be changed. We all know that, but now go do it, guys. Do it. But I had said to a friend of mine who lived in New York, who was a very staunch liberal Democrat and a Hillary lover and a Bill Clinton lover. And this is the irony, Terry, that this guy and I are able to go out and have a beer together, argue like crazy, and then drink a couple beers. And that's not the way America is today, though.
Well, yeah.
Everything is personal. Everything is, okay, if you don't agree with me and if you're not on my side, then you're a jerk, you're an idiot, and you're a racist, and you're this, and you're that, blah, 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 blah. It's a sad commentary when we cannot sit down and have debate, discussion, argue, and still not make it personal.
Yeah, well, hey, and that was the thing. Like, even Charles Schumer, once upon a time, used to be able to have a civil political discussion, but no more. Things are gone. There's a complete lack of civil discourse in the country. And how does Trump not name this Antifa organization and Black Lives Matters? How does he not designate them terrorist organizations?
You have to. I mean, it's all of a sudden you're going to get a problem from the liberal Democrats and this type of thing. But if you just adhere to the strict rules and the way things are designed, I mean, he said something last night in his speech which I applauded, and that is, here you have statues, whether you agree with them, disagree with them, or whatever, and that's another topic of discussion.
You like to bring up the issues.
Yeah, in the middle of the night, they're tearing statues down, and the town fathers and the police are standing there watching. Excuse me, don't you have, it's kind of like we've come to the point that I want this, and I'm going to make this announcement on Kerry Lutz's program today. I want to have a sanctuary city for all shoplifters. Yes, because
I don't want to open a store there. I don't want to open a store in that sanctuary city. I'll tell you that, Bill. I think it'd be a difficult thing.
If you feel you want to go into a store and you feel that something is mispriced or whatever, just put it in your pocket and walk out. Now, if you feel that the police are coming for you because you've broken the law, but something is not as bad as being a terrorist, and we have sanctuary cities for people who break the law because they're illegal immigrants, they're illegal, but that's breaking the law. But, we just, it's not black and white today. I mean, it's kind of gray, So I want a sanctuary city for all shoplifters. That's, okay, I'm just making that announcement today. And I think that maybe we should have it, I don't know where, in Phoenix, Arizona or someplace like that. So,
well, I have a better one. I think we should have one for car thieves, a sanctuary city for auto theft. Now, granted, you're not going to be able to own a car in that city because, you're going to have every car thief in the country there. But just think of how they'll contribute to the economy. The hardware stores, the Home Depot is going to be doing great because they'll be getting their tools for their for the next auto theft.
Do you realize that this conversation has just deteriorated to the level that I heard on CNN the other night about I think she was a congresswoman, talking about how they should tear down the Washington Monument because Washington owns slaves, and he did nothing for her, and so that monument should be torn down. So I think we've just come down to that particular level of conversation.
Yeah, well, then again, if we had a sanctuary city for just monument thieves, they wouldn't have to worry about any monuments because they'd all be stolen.
That's true. Oh, I didn't think about that. We could really make something out of this. You know, I think it could be Sanctuary Cities something.com. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think you're onto something here, Bill. Because
I'll have to tell you something. This is fascinating. Several years ago, I love history, and I'm studying the Revolution, and I mean really studying the Revolutionary War, and it's fascinating the things that happened, etc. But in those days, years and years ago, there used to be in the grand salons of Europe, people would get together, they'd go for a nice dinner, and they would be of all political persuasions, and they would have great conversations. Okay, and then they would leave. Nothing was personal. So a couple of years ago, my wife and I decided to invite to our home several people of different political persuasions. And we had about a dozen people. We had a great evening. We sat around the table, and I said, okay, we're going to do this. And the invitations went out. We're going to do this, and it's going to be nothing personal, but you can get passionate. You can get excited. You can maybe raise your voice. I'm the moderator. But we want to get all opinions, and it's kind of in the tradition of the Grand Salon. Some people came, a couple of people refused to come because other people were there. But we had right, left, we had political, conservative, we had liberal, we had straight, we had gay, we had a tremendous grouping of people. I think we ended up with about 16 people for dinner, and it was just a lovely evening. But at the end, when people were going, so I don't know if I can do this, but after a couple hours, there was so much that they didn't leave until midnight. But people were going, well, that was great. When are we going to do it again? Which proves that people can sit down and have conversations as long as they let their,
don't take
human
it personally.
Dignity, respecting the other person.
Don't take it personal. That's the key.
Correct.
Hey, but I've got a new career for you. You can add this to philosopher, economist, author, and all-around radio guy. Because if you could do that, then you should be a marriage counselor.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, God.
Right? I mean, hey, what's the difference here?
I get, something? I think, all right, so I want you to promote now, BillTatro.com. Go to that, because now we're going to add a new subsection with the consultation of one Kerry Lutz, kind of a Dr. Joyce Brothers type of thing. You send the questions in, and any question I can't handle for marriage counseling, I'm going to refer to my good friend, Kerry Lutz.
Oh, well, we'll have to bring in a consultant, because when it comes to marriage issues, I'm not the guy to be consulting with. I assure you of that, Bill. But seriously, the whole country was founded on open discourse. Why does the First Amendment exist? Think about it. It's the First Amendment. It's not the 10th. It's not the 8th. It's the first. Free speech to get divergent viewpoints out. And as much as a lot of times I can't stand to listen to the right's viewpoints because I know they're lying and they don't really believe it, or the left's, I can't stand listening to them because I wish they were lying and they didn't believe it. It's still better to have the free and open exchange of ideas. And now, one thing we didn't talk about, Bill, but I wanted to get into is Google, Facebook, Twitter. They become the censorship arm of the Democratic Party. And all of these conservative voices, people I know, getting their YouTube videos demonetized, getting the search algorithms to keep people away from their sites, away from their videos. This isn't accidental. This is a big problem. And it shows that the left has the weaker argument. The right has a better argument, but the party is corrupt and therefore undercuts the validity of their argument. But the left has no argument, no logical ability to put forth their ideas because they know they'll be wholesale, roundly rejected.
Very well said. A friend of mine, his son, college graduate, basically not working, in a sense, living at home, has been for quite a long time, once said to me, and I said, aren't you incensed that the NSA basically monitors every phone call, every text, everything that goes out? I mean, I think it's in Tucson, we're the biggest building, and they keep all that. He goes, well, No, I don't have a problem with that. Now, a little while ago, I was talking to him, and he was very upset because a guy that he reads, he says, I read this guy. He's conservative. He says, but I like to read him, and I disagree with him, but I like him. He says, he's being shut down. He says, by Twitter, Google, everybody is shutting him down. How can that happen? And I said to him, well, here's the thing. There was a poem written in Germany many years ago. And it was the guy, basically, it was scripted, and he said, when they came for the trade unionists, I didn't complain. When they came for the Jews, I didn't complain. When they came for the gypsies, I didn't complain. When they came for me, there was no one left to complain. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole thing. We get so, I said to this young man, I said, you're so comfortable with the secession of your rights, with all the things that are being taken away, the modernization, etc. And I said, and each time it's more and more and more and more. The old days, I said, and I talked to a gentleman in the oil industry. He said, watch oil prices. He said, and this is the days, and you remember when oil was 50, 60, 70 cents a gallon many years ago, but then they'd run it up to $2. Then it come down to 90 cents. Then they'd run it up to $2.25, come down to $1.25. Then they run up to 2.50. And I said, well, that's up and down flow. He says, no. He says, basically what it's doing is getting the American public accustomed to the higher prices. Yeah,
conditioning.
They will feel good if it's $2. If it was $4, now it's only $2.50. They'll feel pretty good.
Yeah, break out the champagne.
If they've only taken, if they've only just kind of monitoring your phone call, well, then you're comfortable, and then comfortable with the next thing, and sooner or later we'll get comfortable with them ripping apart and using Google and Twitter and Facebook and these as tools, and people will get accustomed. And when they came for me, there was no one left.
Yeah, I know. I've heard that many a time. And first they came for your cars, right? I mean, do you trust Google to drive you around the country? I don't trust those people. Look, they just disclosed yesterday that Google has a thing like Siri, except with Siri you have to push a button to activate it. With Google, all you have to say is, hey, Google, or Google, okay, or something like that. And anytime it hears okay, it records your conversation. So they're recording the conversations of hundreds of millions of people around the world, maybe billions, without their consent. Oh, it's a glitch. It's a software glitch, Bill, right?
Right.
Nothing to worry about. Right. It won't be misused, will it?
I think George Orwell kind of wrote it best and said it best, don't you, in 1984?
Yeah, I think so. And the people who are telling the truth have to be reviled and assaulted and ridiculed because they can't handle the truth. I think that's it. Anyway, Bill, we got to let you go, but tell us best place to find you and your work.
Well, go to Bill Tatro, that's T as in Tom, A, T as in Tom, R-O, BillTatro.com, and you'll look at all the different free things out there that come out now about once a week. But then there's the It's All About Money, which is subscription-based. You get a chance to try it for 7 days free and no obligation, and give it a try. And I think it's audio, video. It's kind of a compilation of 40 years of my work that I brought all together to bring forth to individuals out there. I think it's on a daily basis. It's less than a cup of coffee, not at Starbucks, but a cup of coffee at McDonald's. So
certainly at
give
Dunkin'
it a try.
Donuts.
BillTatro.com.
Certainly Dunkin' Donuts. And yeah, you missed your calling, Bill, marriage counselor. I'm telling you, I see it. Don't forget.
I got it. But with the association of one, Kerry Lutz.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you, Kerry.
We'll be a great team. And email us, KL@KerryLutz.com, KL@KerryLutz.com. Twitter feed, which is really heating up, surprisingly, because I've not put a whole lot of effort into it, honestly, is @Kerry Lutz. Facebook page is Financial Survival Network. Bill, we'll talk to you again real soon.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to FinancialSurvivalNetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.